Hey everybody, this is Rich. I use the he, him pronouns. You're watching my YouTube channel where I play awesome tabletop role-playing games with friends. This is the second session of January 2020, part of the Gauntlet community, and I am running a game called Padawans in the Vineyard. Padawans in the Vineyard is a hack of a game that's currently out of print. Rich looks up, shows his book. I'm not really showing off. It's a Star Warsy hack of Dogs in the Vineyard. Dogs in the Vineyard is a game from Vincent that he has decided to take off the shelves, as it were. But I've checked in with him about this hack. His main decision on pulling Dogs in the Vineyard, as I understand, is that it is there's a lot of problems dealing with the Wild West and Mormon treatment of Native Americans and the like. He can better explain it than I. My understanding is that he doesn't want to sell it anymore, and I respect that. Although, seriously, this is like $1,500 on eBay or something. So, like, I may sell it if you ask nicely. No, I like it. Okay, $1,500. That's crazy time. Padawans in the Vineyard is set in Star Wars Saturdays, which is a Gauntlet community joint. We've been running games set in the Star Wars universe since 2017. And as we go further into the 2020s, that are going to sound even more momentous. Every month, I choose a different RPG system, and we continue onwards in the timeline that started off in the original trilogy of movies, New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return to the Jedi. We are now in the post-Return of the Jedi time frame. If you're thinking of the movies and TV shows, I think it's like I lay it in a nebulous time period after Return of the Jedi, but probably before Mandalorian. The Empire, while Emperor Palpatine has passed away in Return on Death Star 2, the Deuce, one might call it. The Empire has not yet fallen. It is on the wane. And according to the timeline of like Disney's version of Star Wars, like that's a whole year and a half. So we're somewhere in there. There is a fledgling, Jedi temple that has begun in the Outer Rim. It is not Luke Skywalker's thing. It is this, for some reason, Jedi who was not killed in the Purge. And we haven't yet quite explored that because really it's not his story. It's the story of the Padawans, the learners who came up in this temple. This temple is way out in the middle of nowhere. And the Padawans have not only gone through the early stages of his abbreviated training, but now they've been sent out into the galaxy to search for other young potential Padawans, and if they run into some trouble, to bring light to the universe and fight the dark side. That's the setup for Padawans in the Vineyard. Now, we do have safety tools. I have already put out some lines and veils, which everybody has the option to fill out on the character keeper. If you haven't seen it, it has a little green underline in the Google spreadsheet that I have there. Feel free to update it. I will take a look at it. We've got veils on death and endangerment of children, suicide, and consensual sex is a veil, which means that it's content that we're okay existing in our fiction, but we're not going to highlight it or have it happen on screen, as it were. The lines that we have are sexual assault or sexual violence and peril to pregnant women. And then the ask first pieces are parasites and mind control and domination. I copied this from somewhere else. I don't really have a plan for parasites, but if parasites come up, I'll ask first before we introduce that content. And then the things that folks have shown some interest in is the possibility of romance with PCs and non-player characters. But superseding all of that is our X card. It's our blunt instrument, where if you run into content that we didn't think was going to be a line and veil moment, but hey, that's a thing that bothers you, something you don't want to have to deal with in your fun time games on a Saturday morning, then all you have to do, make an X, can put it in the Zoom chat or on our roll for your party. You can click on the X card, which is a like black with red letters thing, pop up and you put the content in. We're going to stop the game when someone uses the X card because your safety, like your personal fun safety, is way more important than any fiction that we have. We're going to stop the game, have a brief conversation. I'm not going to challenge what you've X carded. I just may need to understand what it is because I don't have your lived experience. So I want to make sure I understand that whatever caused the problem, we identify it. Then we're going to excise that from our play, and then we'll continue forward. The last thing I'll say about X card before we move on is that just because I started to introduce some content or someone brought something up and you're like at first going, but you let it go. And then after a minute or so, you're like, wow, this has gotten to be the running gag that is super bothering me. You can still X card. You do not obviate your ability or do not invalidate the capability to use the X card just because you didn't do it the moment it appeared. At any point when it causes you the point of discomfort where you want to withdraw from the game, please use the X card first. That said, we do have the open door policy. It's a gauntlet policy that's on board. So if for any reason you need to leave the game, do so. You're adults. You're grown-ass people. Go do the thing you got to do, and hopefully you can come back. If you are sure that you can't come back for whatever reason, you can step out. And then, if you've got a whining dog, it's okay. Even if your YouTube video later will be terrible because you have a whining chihuahua, hypothetically, it's okay. I'm just forgiving Past Rich for having a whining dog. God, dog Beaker. Oh, you killed me. That's enough of me talking. Let's have some folks introduce their characters. Stephen, if you could lead us off. Tell us, introduce yourself, and please tell us about your character.
Sure. I'm playing Lethwo Etib. Lethwo is an Athorian, also colloquially known as Hammerheads, but Hammerheads that's kind of a bad term, offensive term. Stephen goes by the pronouns he, him. Leth also goes by the pronouns he, him. And Leth came from a mothership from other Athorians. They're a very peaceful race. They're very in tune with nature. And Leth was training to be an Athorian oracle whenever the Empire came to visit. And he took action, and he took violent action, and that caused him to be ostracized from his mothership. So he went to train with the Jedi Master, and is now with this group of Padawans.
That's right. And he, during his initiation, found and bonded with a kyber crystal in his desire to create his own lightsaber. There was a complication involved in that, though, and the kyber crystal that he bound himself to was slightly cracked, and therefore the light that comes from his lightsaber is a little jagged and slightly distorted. I just recently found out that the reason that Kylo Ren's lightsaber is so freaking scary is that he chose to use a broken kyber crystal. I did not know that. #canon. Eli, welcome. Please introduce yourself and your character.
Hello, I'm Eli. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Linvo, uses they, them pronouns. Linvo is a Nautilin, one of those Star Wars species that has many head tentacles coming out. And Linvo grew up most of their life as a smuggler with their sibling and their mother. And then at one point, while stealing from a Jedi temple, found a Jedi Guardian, or the Temple Guardian lightsaber, and had some Force things happen. And since then ended up at the training temple and has done some training, but they are still not exactly, they're probably the least Jedi-like of all of these people here, as they're still mostly a smuggler.
Yeah, mostly a smuggler. Usually it's a person that mocks the Jedi. and you happen to be one. That's great. Cool. So what we're going to do next is we have two new players joining us, Leah and Alexa. Alexa, welcome. The sergeants. We've brought some rank in here. And sorry, I don't normally make sergeant jokes, but that's the one I have. That's the only one I have. So what we're going to do is have each of you introduce your characters, or introduce yourselves, and then we'll introduce your characters as we run them through initiation. Initiation is a thing we'll explain just a little bit. But Leah, if you could go first.
Yeah, so my character is, as I imagine her, someone who grew up on the jungle planet that may or may not have a name, based on the chat. So Kaliana Burdens is from a strong jungle community of people kind of really living in harmony with the ecosystem here, almost a symbiotic relationship. And then when the Jedi Temple began being built, people were mostly excited the teachings of the Force accorded with some of our understandings of the world and of nature. And then it turned out she was a Padawan, so it's just even more thrilling. A lot of what I'm seeing for the character and how I pick traits is things like, never been off planet before, really into the way that plants respond to strain, and thus all strain is productive because we can always learn from it. Just like pruning makes a plant grow back stronger. She's a human. She's thrilled to be here from a strong community. Any other stuff and has a pet lizard among her belongings, which is an ordinary 1d6 plant lizard, but she also has like a treasured almanac from her people that has a lot of spiritual annotations in it. That's a 2d6 really good almanac.
Nice. I like that a lot. That is very cool. And I quickly went to Wikipedia and searched Jungle World, and there's one on the Inner Rim, and Rhodia, it turns out, is a jungle world, but I'm not sure if that's in Outer Rim or not. We'll play with it. We may make up our own name because we can do that thing. Alexi, if you could introduce yourself and your character, I'd appreciate it.
Hey, yes, I'm Alexi, he, him. Follow all my gaming endeavors online at Cloven Pine Games. You can check out my Cloven Pine Games Twitter or my Cloven Pine Games itch.io store. In this game, I'm going to be playing Iroli Vasa, a Padawan, she, her. And for her, I chose the complicated history and went with the most complicated history I could come up with, at short notice for a Padawan character, where I think she first found this lightsaber, right? She was on some planet, far away from the centers of galactic power, but she found and bonded with this lightsaber artifact, and someone in her family, she doesn't know who, called the Inquisitors. So Imperial Inquisitors arrive, to snuff out this potential Jedi, and what happens is she ends up getting taken in by the Imperial Inquisitor 11th sister, who spun this whole story about how, secretly there was within the Inquisitors, secret Jedi sympathizers, and the 11th sister would hide Iroli and keep her from being taken by the Empire. And so for years, Iroli was a ward / prisoner / semi-apprentice to Sith Inquisitor 11th sister, and it turned out later that 11th sister was definitely lying to her, and was using her force powers to suppress and siphon Iroli's. So whatever her overall agenda, whatever scheme she was trying to pull on the Empire, she was just using Iroli as a tool and stealing her force powers from her. So I think this situation ended with Nova Kalos stepping in and helping, such that together we probably killed 11th sister. I think there was some lightsabering. She toppled down a very deep hole, and no one can survive that. So now, scarred by this kind of brush with the dark side and with all this deception, Aroli has kind of come to this fledgling Jedi temple and is trying to figure out her way forward here.
That's delightful. It's a lot of backstory, but man, I love it. That's good. Okay, so after a quick Wikipedia search, I found that Rhodia, the home planet of the Rhodians, that's Greedo, with their little proboscis type dealing and the huge multifaceted eyes. I'm going for it. So there's this jungle area on Rhodia where there was an ancient temple that has been discovered and rebuilt by you guys, but only partially. So let's stick with Aroli. We're going to go through your initiation. So this is the last trial before you leave. By the way, cool shirt. There, Alexi. I just saw you stand up, and that's an awesome neon style. Very cool. So you are going through your initiation, and the way that we frame initiation, first of all, it's kind of like a walkthrough. It allows you to have a conflict and allows you to see what it's like. But your character's not going to die. They did successfully go through the initiation. This is not Traveler. You cannot die in character creation, as it were. But the initiation is where you as a player will say, I would like to learn, I would like to accomplish X, or I would like to try to learn Y. And then we go through that initiation conflict. It's a formalized process before you are led out to the greater galaxy, leaving Rhodia and your temple behind with other Padawans to learn the more ways of the Force and help to protect the good people of the Republic. Because it's totally a Republic now. There's no problems whatsoever. It's going to last for many generations, not just 25 years. Before the First Legion comes along. We totally know that now. Alexi, tell me, what would Aroli like to try to accomplish, or what is her goal with her initiation?
I think she needs to learn to trust the Force.
Ooh, learn to trust the Force.
So I'm picturing this might be one of those things where you're blindfolded and there's little things flying around shooting at you.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Yeah, but we got to go next level. It's more than the little things. Maybe there's this grand chasm and a log that's been placed over the chasm, and you need to walk across the log while these things are attacking you. And there might be something on the other side that you need to face because we're just extra that way.
Yeah, it seems legit.
Nova Callus, your teacher, your Jedi master, who saved you from the 11th sister and sent her down a chasm of her own, which she'll never return from. Totally, seriously, guys. It sets forth, he stands on the side, and then he comes up. As you stand on one side, he says, you need to cross the chasm and then face whatever it is that you face on the other side. Please do not remove this blindfold. Trust in the Force. And it binds you.
And are you or the Force going to tell me what I'm going to face on the other side?
The Force will. Then he takes the blindfold, and we see that kind of coming towards the camera.
Yeah.
Then all light disappears as you begin your journey. Stepping onto a log, not a big deal. Being an amazing Jedi Force user, I've already shared our role for your party. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to actually roll the dice. I found that last week that everybody's dice look differently based on your actual view of the website. So you're going to roll the dice. I'm going to share screens. I'll be the mover of dice. You just tell me which dice you're committing. And so I roll, and then you'll roll. You'll just lead off with this is, and we look at our rules reference. The conflict is non-physical at this time, so you will take your acuity plus heart and roll those dice.
All right. That's 7d6 for me.
Nice. So go ahead and roll that 76, then I'll roll my dice next.
I'm going to make it purple.
Oh, man. All right. Then I'm going to go with red, an angry red.
Hmm.
And hold on a second. Rich needs to make sure he's doing the correct dice. All right, cool. Why did my dice? There they are. Ha! Look at that. I've got a 6 and a 7 and a 9. You're in trouble, buddy. All right.
Yeah, looks like it.
So what I'm going to do now is share the screen. Let me share the screen. There we go. And then everybody's going to become teeny tiny little icons. And we'll all get to see. This is always a little problematic. But all right, let me get all my dice.
So Rich, we will rather than messing around with what my view of the dice roller is, I'll just tell you which dice I want to use. All right.
Yes. So we look at all the dice and see who has the highest pair, because that's the person that will go first. And guess what? It's me. So I go first, but I'm not bound to play my highest dice. So I'm gonna save this 9 for later because I'm terrible that way. Let me just move this. Just see that 9 there? Let me just move it over here. Just keep that in mind. I'm gonna lead off. Still with something pretty bad. Man, this is gonna be a very, very, very painful thing. So you step forward onto the log, and as soon as your foot hits the mossy texture, you hear something moving inside the log, and you feel how unsteady it is. So what do you do?
And then
with a 12. So with a 12, what you need to do is you have to see that with as few dice as possible. Although really, if you're not going to make it, then you can just put as many as any. If you do it with 2 dice, then you have blocked it. If you do it with more than 2 dice, then those dice will move to fallout, no matter how many they are.
Because I'm taking the blow.
Correct, you're taking the blow.
And can I? And I can raise at this point if I so desire. By bringing
well, first yes, absolutely. You can kind of escalate the conflict or raise by bringing something else in, but you need to narrate what that thing is. Then you roll the dice, and you have those alongside what you started with, your acuity plus heart.
I think I'm just going to start by taking the blow. So it's right. If I don't match the number, then I lose the conflict.
Correct. You have to match the number, or we're already done. You can give if you want, like right off the top. That's okay.
Not gonna give right off the top. That's.
I mean, if you want to be beaten, if you want to take the trait beaten by a log.
If I put 4 dice forward, that would be and match the number. That would be taking the blow.
You'd be taking the blow. Yes. So it's painful, but you can continue forward. You haven't lost the conflict.
I think that's the thing, right? I'll put forward 2, 3, 3, 4, and this looks like Oroli feels the moving within the log, and she immediately tenses up, and that's the wrong thing to do. And she's shaken and loses her footing and hits the log hard, but then clings on and swings back up the other side. So she's less walking, peacefully balanced on the log, and more grappling with the log, but hasn't fallen down. Does that work?
That is great for me. I love that. So now I'm just gonna. So we have our notes. Dice that get used, we'll move them over here. Dice that become fallout are over here. Right now you have 46 of fallout. However, you have met that challenge, and now you're on the log. You're standing on it. You feel the wind in your hair. And then you hear that ooh, shh, 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 from the 2 little droid trainers that float out into the space above the chasm. And I will put some more dice forward. I'm going to put forward a 4 and a 6. I'm putting forward a 10. I'm going to make you use up those dice if you want to see it. And you can raise if you want. So yes, what you hear is the first of those things firing up, and they're going to be shooting at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think at this point she's like kind of given herself this internal pep talk. You know, it's just another test. I'm a Padawan. I can pass this test. I can do it. The Force can do it, and I will trust the Force.
Yes.
So I'm gonna roll. I'm a Padawan, and if it's all right, I'm gonna roll Force psychometry for like trying to reach out with the Force and get the sense of where these droids are and what they're planning to do. Like a kind of, you know,
it sounds
the
great.
Force connects all things, including these objects.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm gonna roll 1d8 and 2d6. Just give me a little more to work with here.
We'll see. Oh, not bad. The 6 is definitely helpful.
The sixes are helpful.
So if you exceed what I have, you don't get any extra benefit. The only way that you do is if you can
meet it with one dice.
Exactly. Meet it with one die, and then you reverse.
Yeah, I think I will meet it with a 5 and a 6. So I'm don't get a bonus for overcoming it, but I'm hitting, what is it, blocking the blow with two dice, or
exactly. Yeah, you block or dodge. So what does that look like? Is it a thing where she dodges nimbly by using her psychometry, or does she block it somehow? And if so, I'm really curious how.
Oh, interesting. Sorry, just making sure I didn't screw up the math here.
I just want to ask for a second because I haven't played in the system before.
Yes,
why would you do it with a 5 and a 6 instead of 2 5s? Since you're trying to match, or you're trying to exceed?
You just need to match, so you can meet it with a 10. If you want to swap out that 6 for the 5, you can.
Yeah, I did the math wrong. Is the answer. So can I?
So
yeah,
just
can I just use the 2 5s?
No problem. Dang it, dice. Okay, there we go. Cool. Thank you, Leah. That was a great question. I thought Alexi had a strategy, but it's okay.
Sometimes it's just a question of addition. So the little droids whirring around. She's like, been rattled at the beginning of this challenge, trying to get some purchase on this, and I think like you see the droids start firing, and it looks like she's fallen off of the log, but actually she's like this time deliberately swung down to hang below the log so that the droids like hit each other above it.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. So now you get to raise if you would like.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'll put my 2 6s forward.
All right, good call. Took away my possibility of, I thought if you were going to go 6 or 3 or 6 or 2, I was going to reverse the blow, but you cleverly come forward, climbing along the log, feeling the mossy texture, and then the bark starts to give way. And I will, yeah, I'm going to do it. All right, I'll just block that. You still see it, you feel it, you're moving along the log, you're starting to reach the other side, and then you pull yourself up, and that's when you hear part of the log burst open and something bounds out from behind you. You thought that you were going to be facing something at the other end, but it was something inside the log itself. And I will raise with 6. It's more than you have, but perhaps you want to escalate the conflict, and if so, you can roll some more dice.
Yeah, I mean, if something's sounds like something's bounding towards me.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like some kind of creature was inside the log and is coming at you with gnarling and gnashing teeth. Yes, nice. So lightsaber dueling is heart plus will. You've already rolled heart in this conflict, but you can bring in your will dice, and then if you have any traits attached to your lightsaber, you may roll those as well. You've escalated.
I have the lightsaber itself as a belonging.
Okay, cool.
Or, so I think I'm rolling 8d6 here.
Wow. Okay. Bring them in. Let's see how this goes. It's enough. You can't quite. Didn't roll a 6, so you can't reverse the blow.
I could have reversed the blow. I think I'll just meet the blow then with 2 of my 3s.
Okay, that's a wise choice. And then because this is an initiation, I only go 4d6, 4d10. So you block this. What does it look like when the thing blocks, or what do you think it looks like? Is it a thing where you like knock it aside, or do you actually use the lightsaber to strike at the creature?
I think for a moment, right? Like, so she's blindfolded. I think for a moment you see like the purple of her lightsaber ignite, and it's just kind of reflected off this blank blindfold, and it looks like she's raising it in anger to strike back, and then like she breathes, she takes like a step backwards and like just brings the lightsaber down, slicing the ground in front of her, and there's just a lightsaber scar across the ground, and then she's holding the lightsaber in more of a defensive style, hoping that she's kind of warn the creature off, like let it know what it's facing, so that it isn't going to press this attack, and she can trust in the Force and wait there. That's my hope.
Awesome. So you do so. The thing seems like it might be hesitating, but then it growls, and you know that you're going to have to finish it off, that this is part of the trial, that this is the thing that you face on the other side. So now you get to raise, and I cannot see it, so you can tell me how you take care of this, how you resolve the conflict.
Yeah. I will put a 4 and a 5 forward here, and just kind of, I think like she waits, like she's blindfolded, she doesn't see, but like as the thing moves forward and kind of like moves over that line that she marked in the jungle floor, like you see like just a small nod from her, like all right, you've made your decision, creature, and then steps forward, bringing the lightsaber like cleanly through its head as it does that.
Awesome. And then you hear from the other side of the chasm your Jedi Master, your trainer, Nova Kalos, as he says, "Congratulations, Iroli. You trusted in the Force. You took action when it was necessary, and you have completed your initiation. You may remove the blindfold."
She'll like kind of pull it off without using her hands at all, just like force remove blindfold.
There you go. Awesome. When you force remove the blindfold, looking down, expecting to see the carcass of the creature that attacked you, you see none. So now you get to roll Fallout. Fallout is the 4d6 that you have, so we'll just clear dice. You can go ahead and roll 4d6. Ones lets you have experience Fallout, and then you add the 2 highest dice.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's,
you got an experience fallout and 12. Ouch.
so that's an experience and a 12.
So the good news about the long term is that because this is you take 2 long term, but like permanent injury type stuff, this is a ceremonial, so we'll talk it through. But you get 1 experience from the experience fallout if you look on the rules reference tab, and I'm gonna not make you choose this right now because we're going to go to Leah and see Kalina's stuff. But you get 1 option from the experience fallout, and then you get 2 options from the long-term fallout, which are pretty awesome. You get a new trait at D4, new relationship at a D4. The reason those are long-term fallouts is that D4s always roll pretty low, so they are often hard to bring into conflicts and result in a lot of fallout. So that's what that is. So you can look over that. You get 2 long-term fallout and 1 experience fallout. And then we are going to jump over to Kalina. So Kalina.
Kaliana is what I'm going with.
Kaliana, I am so sorry. I will write that down phonetically so I will not screw it.
And let me take a second to ask 1 question about how conflict works here, having that was helpful to watch first since my first time in the system. Alexi, how were you picking what you advanced on that last one where you knew he couldn't see?
I just picked my highest dice because I thought it would be most dramatic.
Legit, I was wondering, like, what are the strategic considerations here? But then they didn't shift into falls. I'm like, okay, so I guess that wasn't it. But, all right.
Cool. So what is it that Kaliana would like to accomplish during her initiation?
All right. So I feel like I picked as the kind of lightsaber fighting that I'm most trained in Soresu style, which is the defensive outlasting style. According to the Star Wars wiki I looked at, when practiced, totally adeptly, it's unbeatable. Of course, if you get tired, it is not unbeatable since it relies on just outlasting everyone else. So I was thinking there might be a rabid animal that would be very hard to outlast that I would need to deal with in some way.
So what is it that she wants to accomplish? To show that her style is superior, or to show that she has the stamina to endure? What is the thing that she's trying to accomplish?
I think she suspects the point of the trial is to prove that she isn't ready to rely solely on the style, and she would like to prove that she could.
Okay, cool. So she wants to prove that her style is superior. All right.
Well, she's confident it is. It's a question for her of whether she's an adept enough practitioner of it.
Okay. Prove that she is a worthy master of this nearly forgotten style, because Order 66 and all that good stuff. Awesome. So this is ceremonial, and we're going to quickly enter lightsaber duels. But I think you're going to face. Here it is. So if you take a look at the Padawans in the Vineyard character keeper, on the NPCs and places tab, down on row 20, there is a droid by the name of Tiha. Tiha has the programming to be a training droid. While it is a servant droid, it is a training droid. And Nova Kalos informs you that he will face Tiha, and Tiha walks forward. It says, "Despite my appearance, I am programmed in multiple lightsaber-wielding capabilities. And while it does not draw forward a lightsaber because it doesn't have access to the Force, it does have effectively one of those shock batons that the Imperial Guard and also later the Knights of Ren use. So it's like a weird vibro kinetic electric thing that it brings forward as it steps into the way. And they'll say that this is in the slightly rebuilt temple here on Rhodia. There was one particular room that's kind of, I'm imagining it's circular and is deeply indented, and then there are several, it's almost like the reverse of a Machu Picchu type pyramid, and then it's rounded off, and so Tiha is down in there, and the other Padawans and Nova Kalos are all arrayed outside so they can watch this initiation. So I have rolled my 10d6 or 4d6 and 4d10.
All right. Let's see.
I am sharing the wrong screen, dummy. Sorry, I'm the dummy. There we go. Haha. Awesome. So we'd start off with, like, if you want to start off straight up with lightsaber dueling, you can roll heart plus will.
Yeah, I think that does make sense here. So that's going to be 96 for me.
All right. Go ahead and you get to roll the dice. That way it's your fault.
Right.
They're terrible.
Perfect. All right. So 96. Going to go with green as a jungle plant lady.
Ooh,
all right.
That's some good dice. All right. So your highest are a 5 and a 6. My highest is an 8 and a 5. So I do have the highest dice. I will lead off. And I'm going for it. I'm gonna make you take some fallout. Tiha moves forward and says, "Apologies if I caused you injuries. Remember, we do have Bacta on hand." And it moves surprisingly fast. You can hear the whirring of all the mechanics inside its little carapace as it comes forward and slices at your feet rather than coming for your head, trying to surprise you with a modification of one of the ancient Jedi styles that has been programmed into it. What do you do?
All right. So I'm going to talk through this first mechanically and then fictionally,
absolutely.
just to make sure I got the gist here. So I definitely can't match you with an equal number of die or a single die. So I'm deciding kind of how many dice I will add to my fallout as I pick what to match you with.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And you've got a 13 on the board. Yeah.
And just to talk a little bit of strategy, like if you use your highest dice and then the third die, remember they're all 6-sided, so it's all the same amount of fallout. Mm-hmm. So my recommendation is, if you look at the dice I've got left, I would probably take a lot of potential fallout in the first move here to save your higher dice for future goes. So that
because you don't have anything as dramatic.
I rolled like poop
there,
personally.
All right, so let's see. That's 5, 8.
I'm regretting this picture because that Wookiee's so adorable. Like, I mean, the last ones were scared, and these aren't scared. But man, he's just so cute with this little lightsaber. And look at Lethwo. That's a Lethwo baby. No, it's not Lethwo.
I mean, how reasonable is it to put forward my 4 3s for a 12 and my 1?
Sure, you certainly can do that. Just
all right.
Then it means you're probably going to at some point need to bring in some other dice in the conflict because you're going to have so few dice left.
Yeah,
but you can do that to make sure that.
Let's see where this takes us.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So
I think what she's doing fictionally, as you do the dice moving, is that when it goes for her feet, she jumps, tucks into a roll. But is a little frustrated already with her approach so far, just because it feels like it was too dramatically reactive, right? She wasn't braced for this; she was ready for the head, and so she's trying to find a more secure way of standing for the next hit.
Yeah, and I think that by taking the blow, it definitely. Tiha tricked you, and you hit the ground, roll out of the way, but it doesn't come down and slam into you. But yeah, that first go was not very great for you. So I will go ahead and lead forward as it moves forward with another attack. I am trying another style. Good luck.
Great.
And it comes, grabs it in a two-handed style, and then comes with an axe chop over the head towards you. What do you do?
All right, and so at this point, can I bring in more dice?
You certainly can.
Relying on my Soresu style more. I was thrown off my game at first.
Yep. So
I'm going to catch and hold.
Yeah. So you're using your lightsaber, so you can use that if you haven't brought in that belonging. Your Sarasu style from your traits of 2d8, you can bring those. So you can roll 2d8 and 2d6 here.
Yeah, I would love to do that. All right, let me throw them in.
Okay. Good luck. Don't roll all ones.
All right, 2d8, 2d6.
That's a pretty good dice there.
All right. So this is where if I pull out that 8, something exciting happens, right?
That's right.
Let's do that. I haven't seen that yet.
Sweet. So yeah, you reverse the blow. What does it look like when you do that?
So I think, he's got the kind of the eyebrow blade and he's bringing it down like an axe, right? And, she brings up her lightsaber and just catches the blow and like turns slightly, kind of pulling him off his feet, but very gently, right? Like it's less a counterattack and more like a gentle like inducement to fall down.
I like that.
But that kind of like takes the spirit out of an attack, right? Like it's all the annoyance of like yelling at someone who's like, "Oh, gosh, I guess you're pretty upset." Wow. Oh. That's what it feels like fighting this style. It's a mix of comforting and condescending.
Okay. Comfort and condescending is such a Jedi thing. So awesome. So now what you've done is reverse the blow. Now you get to keep that 8 forward and push forward more dice to create your effectively the raise on top of my 8. And then I've got to beat that with new dice. So based on, if you bring I've got 5, 6, 7, I've got 7. So as long as you can do better than a 7, this reversal will bring you on top of Tiha. So what do you want to go ahead and finish him off, or do you want to drain him of dice and then your next go will be the one that takes him down? It's totally up to you.
Let's see. All right, so you've got 2, 4, and I've I think I'll put forward my 4 and one of my 3s, and obviously she doesn't want to destroy.
Well, wait, a 4 and a 3 is 7. Sorry. Yeah, no, Rich got confused. I confused myself. Please ignore me. What did you do? What are you saying? Sorry.
All right, so I think she doesn't want to destroy this training, right? This is training, right? Like, and he is teaching her, and she's grateful for that. So she kind of like, as she sends him sprawling, like, I think her goal is to kind of point the lightsaber into a part of his like robot body, such that she's not doing any damage, but if he moves, he will be doing damage to himself.
Nice. That will actually, now that I'm looking at it, because he has to beat a 15, not a 7. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But you still win. So yeah, you place him in the point where he cannot move.
It's like a submission hold.
Yes, and he looks at the purple lightsaber in his face with his little robotic droid eyes and says, "Congratulations, you've beaten 2 styles. Obviously, your capabilities are superior to mine."
I think she, at that point, turns off the lightsaber and puts her hand out to the droid and, like, sincerely goes, like, "It would not be possible for me to advance with the challenge you pose. Like, thank you." Very earnestly.
Nice. And Kalos is, good. Now we will see what your fallout is. So you get to roll those 4d6. You can just re-roll those or roll 4 new dice. It's totally up to you.
I'll re-roll these. These guys were my friends. They served me well so far. Let's see. These guys were not my friends.
Oh, man. So that is 12 of fallout. And that is pretty rough. So you get to choose 2 from the list, if I remember correctly. Let me double check real quick. Yes, a 12 is 2 long term. So look at the long term fallout. You get 2 of those options. And again, if it's the long term fallout, if you want to choose, let's see if there's. I don't think there's any. I would not subtract 1 from your character stats. Like, let's jump forward, but then Alexia and Leah, after you guys have chosen your fallout, you can inform us about what they would notice, what Lethwo and Linvo would notice has changed about your character as you guys arrive here. You came on the Silver Dart. You came to Adarlan, Aroli, and Kaliana. But you had another task to take care of. Like you were asked by the captain of the ship, Grom Rybor, if you guys could help him dealing with a particular thing here on Rhodia and one of the domed. No, you're not on Rhodia. You're on Adarlan, Rich. Okay, you're on Adarlan. So dealing with the city that you got where you guys had landed. And then you could catch up with the others. So now you are doing so, catching up with your fellow Padawans, Lethwo and Linvo. Hey, man, that's like a rap song. No, it's not. And Linvo, you still have Bosty with you. You guys did the cool blaster trick, and you fooled him. Leth, I'm going to say that Slow, your fellow Padawan, he is Gitlo has headed off to take care of maybe something to do with the mining company charter, to research that, because his Kvafir, the mine foreman, has asked him if he could head back to Adarlan to check out an aspect of the charter. So that's how we're going to gently nudge a player character out of our current storyline, if that's cool. Yeah, I think Alexi's right. So let's have all four of you meet up. Aroli and Kaliana, the two of you arrive on a speeder. This Utai speeder driver, Mubo, is on our NPCs list. He's on row 20. I think that character looks hilarious. So that's who your speeder driver is.
Oh, and Rich, I think I have candidate Fallout to run
perfect.
by you.
What are you thinking about?
Well, I feel like, that went pretty well. So it's kind of a creating weak relationships and traits here. So I wanted to make a 1d4 relationship with Tiha.
Awesome. Tiha is on the ship now. Because
and
that's awesome.
And the trait, also at 1d4, everyone has something to teach me.
Oh, go talk to Linvo. She's got something to teach you.
I also took one experience Fallout, 1d6 trait Fighting Blind, and then I took long-term Fallout, a 1d4 trait Sometimes Draw a Line in the Sand, and a additional 1d4 to my relationship with Master Nova Kalos.
Nice. A little problematic relationship with you have with the Master, huh? Okay, good.
I think that is more than fair given the character's history. That there's just a hesitancy and a complication to any kind of mentor relationship.
Sounds good. So the two of you arrive on a speeder, Linvo and Lethwo. The two of you have met back up again. Bosty is with you, Linvo. He seemed reluctant to go. He says, I don't want to go home. Is it okay if I stay with you?
Kind of. The Linvo looks at Bosty and then looks back at Lethwo. It's just like,
Can I keep the blaster? Can I keep the blaster? Is that okay?
No. We're going to take the blaster back.
Okay.
And Linvo will kind of take the blaster back and stow it. But you can stay with us for the time being.
Okay.
Are we all converging on the same spot?
Yeah, let's say maybe you're at the hastily erected cantina that has been recently built here for the mining company. So where you are is a place by the name of sorry, Rich's Chrome is being slow on me. The name of this mining village is Tun Gimwell. It was originally a Boffin settlement until they found a heavy ore, silver ore vein existed underneath the town. So technically, the Bothans have some kind of claim to the silver, but they've effectively leased out the mining to a particular mining company. You see all kinds of insignias of the Blue Horn Mining Company all over, and there's a lot of recent construction, a hotel, a cantina, and some rumors of other entertainment and housing that's going on for the booming mining that's going on here. So you guys arrive, and we'll say that you're at the cantina. The four of you meet up together, and little Basti is there. Basti is a maybe 12-year-old Bothan. He has an earring.
So rebellious.
He is so rebellious, you guys.
Yeah, I think when we arrive, I look to Lin Vo and I say, have you found the youngling already?
It's possible, although there may be other things going on. But I know that we were told to bring the youngling back, but I'm not always sure if that's the best idea to interfere with the situation here.
What's the situation here?
In that, I don't know, the Jedi are always. You should continue to figure out what's going on. Have you found anything while you were on the ship?
Rich, we didn't find anything that bore on this situation as far as
Yeah, no, you were helping the pilot argue for cheaper fuel.
I think Kellyanna speaks up and says, well, things should grow in the soil they're intended for, and if this is a youngling, he needs to come back and be trained properly, just as you wouldn't plant a plant name in soil type. It would grow up stunted and with stomata that barely opened and closed as it should.
And Lin Vo is kind of like, well, okay then, and then looks between Basti and Kellyanna is just like, here's another Jedi. They have many things to teach you. It's just like, Basti, you should go over there and bug Kellyanna.
Kellyanna bows formally to Basti and goes, I'm sure we have many things to teach each other.
You guys are taking me away? This is great.
Oh, first, I think it would be prudent to test this young one to make sure they are what we seek.
No, I am. I really am. I can do whatever you want. I shot the blaster real well. Tell him.
I don't know. You missed once.
You did a mind trick on me, right?
And I have no idea what you're talking about.
Let's go outside of town, and I think that we can introduce some trials to make sure this is the one we're looking for.
Nice.
Trials are good. I accede to Lethwo's plan here.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. As I said originally, if you guys want to do the midichlorian, then we'll do the midichlorian, friends.
I'm X-carding midichlorians.
All right. It is gone. We can't have midichlorians there. It's okay with me. Yay.
So how about if Lethwo and Kellyanna go forward and form an obstacle course? Okay. Out of whatever the surrounding plants or area is outside of town.
I'm 100% game for that.
Yeah. And then we can see, tell the young one this is the kind of thing that you need to run, and then surprise him with something along the way.
Cool. So is your desire to test to see if this kid has access to the Force in a way similar to you in an untrained state? Or are you hoping to convince him that he is not, which would endanger for future if someone else were to come along who wanted it?
So Lefbo's intention is to test him to make sure this is the youngling we were looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, Kaliana just wants to find out what the truth is.
Cool. All right. I just wanted to double
Because
check.
he does have something going on. That Linvo found that out last time. They're just not entirely sure if the Jedi overall should be messing with everything. So,
But I think that's a good question. As far as, are we trying to find out the truth? Or are we trying to convince him he doesn't belong or something like that? I think that's a good question for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if Linvo, did you want to interrupt things?
yeah, sure. I think that as we're going, everyone's like, yes, let's make this obstacle course. This is great. And I'm just like, walk a little bit ahead so that I'm up with left low and Bossy can't really hear. And it's just like, so I know that he has the Force. That's not a question, but I'm not sure if testing him and taking him is what would be best for him or best for the world.
Well, it seems to be the thing that he desires. And Master Kalos sent us here to make sure that none of the dark side interferes with him. What is your concern?
I mean, he desires it because he sees it in the hollow vids. If
See,
he wanted my blaster for the same reason, he wants to become General Solo or something. If he offered him to be a smuggler, he would jump at that.
Lethwo, you have seen, because of Gitlo's abilities, you've seen into Bost's mind. You might know a little bit more about why Bosty wants a blaster.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. When I say, I didn't know that Bosty was that kid. Yeah. So I tell Linvo, I'm concerned that Bosty may be already tainted by the dark side in a search for vengeance. And I think as we push the young one through this trial, it will be good to see how much anger and hate he brings into this trial and into his efforts to exceed it. So, maybe I like your idea, Linvo, that maybe we should show him that a Jedi may not be who he sees in the Olivids, that they might be someone he does not, who's not heroic, or who's human, just like everyone else. Do you have a proposal?
Not particularly. It's more that the Jedi always think that they know what is best and push it onto everyone else. And I was not eager to do the same.
All of you guys are raced the tipple together. I think you're used to Linvo's like, I know I'm here, but I don't really trust this stuff. So
yeah,
just be aware.
Oh yeah. So one thing I think that's important So what I kind of like to see now in this trial, other than like an obstacle course, which is what I think we tell Basti this is, and he's timed. I'd like to see the object of his hate, this other Bothan, appear in that and see how he reacts to it. That's a little bit manipulative. I don't know how much Lin Vo will go towards that.
I mean, I guess Lin Vo's question is, if you sense a lot of hate in him, what does that mean that you will do? Like, if your worst fears are true, what does that mean the course of action should be?
I think that either way, it is important that the child receive training. It just tells us what kind of training is needed.
The dark side is insidious, but it can be removed from someone. We have to believe that. Don't we? Orly looks around at everyone, slightly accusatorily.
Lin Vo like returns it with soft eyes. Just in that, like, it wasn't your fault and you don't have any control over it. And in some ways, Lin Vo, like, flashing back to at the temple dynamics, like, Lin Vo sees what the Inquisitor did to Iroli, similarly to the way that they're almost displeased with the Jedi, that it's like, how different are they really? They're both still, like, taking people and doing these things and saying that they know what's best for everyone. Like, I don't know how different that really is.
And I think Kaliana replies by, kind of thinking back to one of the older texts they read and not at all about the person in front of her, and says, "Oh, well, sometimes when the taint is too great, the greatest expression of the light that remains is a single flare that in death removes the pollution from the world around us," which is, a redemption of a type, but we mustn't be unrealistic about what it can look like.
And I think so. Lethwo turns to Vinlo and Lin Vo and says, "As you know, we've had this discussion many times. After you complete your training, you can leave the Jedi Order and do what you want. It's not unheard of. It's happened before. I believe that Basti has the same choice, but needs more training in order to grow strong and be able to survive and not be manipulated like our friend Iroli may have been."
Anything
But
we can do.
the Empire, the Sith Inquisitors are no more.
That's
sure,
what they say.
It might not be great to leave him here, but the damage that he could cause were he trained would far exceed whatever would happen untrained.
You don't think people can do great harm with strong, uncontrolled force powers, Lynn?
I don't know what you mean. Anyways, let's get on with this test.
Cool.
Great. So our character's
Quickly change
completely,
the subject.
completely not on the same page, but we're gonna try to real quick, pull up a test that somehow satisfies all of our concerns for this child. I think that is absolutely the next step we should take, because that will be hilarious.
Yes.
So just to clarify, we are saying that you guys are going to put Basti under a test with hopes of proving his abilities with the Force, or to convince him of something else?
It sounds like what we're like. It sounds like we know he has some connection to the Force. We want to figure out like his moral leanings and whether he's kind of too compromised by the dark side already, or if we can help him move towards the light. Does that
Cool.
sound accurate?
For Lidvo, it's more about how well is Basti's temperament going to match up with like the fundamentals of being a Jedi. So it's not about his powers at all
Okay.
for Lidvo.
Wow. All right.
I think Lethwo is going to present the image of his the Bothan we saw before, the alcoholic, his father.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the relationship?
Yes.
Show the image and see how he reacts to it, whether or not it's violent or whether or not it's redemptive in some way, something like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Give me a moment or two to think, and we've been at it for an hour and a half. So this will be our mid-game bio break. It is 26 after the hour. Let's take well, it's now 27 after the hour. Let's take at least a 8-minute break, and we'll meet at 25 till. So you see you guys in about 8 minutes. Enjoy the break. Hey, Alexi, welcome back.
Hey, Rich. Good to be back.
Back, Leah and Eli and Steven. Cool. So we have this trial for aforementioned young Bosty, child of Bost. Bost who's been healed but has done a great deal of harm to his family, and who is dealing with substance abuse as well. And I don't think this is necessarily you guys entering into an active conflict against Bosty. I thought about this during the break. I think it's just you see him work through the trials, and when you present his father to him for a possible conflict, he's terrified. He's terrified of Bosty. He runs through all of the pieces of your obstacle course with athletic skill that you can feel him reaching out to the force, and it aids him and he's able to overcome. But once he reaches Bost, he pulls back, fear immediately, stumbling on apologies, falling back to his hands and his butt, and kind of scrambling away. And you sense the dark side creeping in to his heart, that there is so much pain that has existed, and now that he is able to, that he is reaching out to the force, it's sliding in to that weak point.
So if you don't mind, one of the things I'd like to do is I'd like to explain to his father, Bosty may be going away to train with us, and this is your chance to say goodbye and to set things right. And I want to kind of see, the father's name was
Bost.
I want to see if Bost, whenever Bost reaches out to the young one, how does Bosty kind of respond?
So you're saying after you saw his reaction to the illusory one, you want to bring him back in contact with the real one and try and see if there can be a healing?
I was actually thinking about this during the break. I think, so I had the relationship with Bost where he was damaged due to the drink. And I think it ended with him saying, I don't know, what I've done, and I don't know how to deal with this. And I think I go search him out.
Okay.
And I bring him back.
Oh, so wow. So he's watching this.
Yeah.
And you think he sees this illusion of himself and how his son reacts to it?
No, I think, and there was no illusion. I think we put him at the end of the trial.
Okay.
And his son reacts in fear. And I want to see, I don't want this to be uncontrolled, but I don't want to be manipulative in it. But I would like to, I guess, be involved and say, now is the time you need to go to your son and apologize. And I want to say, now is the time you need to see your father for who he is. And maybe, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I don't mind that being dice, if you will.
Yeah, I think that enters dice. Good. So, yeah, Bost sees this. He sees how his son reacts to him. There's a moment of like a slight bit of surprise, but then the realization, like, I have done this. There have been times when he's cowered away from me before, and he tries to reach out, and then you effectively aid him by trying to talk about forgiveness. And he says the words. He says, I'm sorry, son. I want to make it right. And that's when Bosty says, they're taking me away. I want to leave. I don't want you. Just I don't want you at all. And he gets up and he looks over to you, Linvo. He's not convinced by his father's apology. What do you do? Lethwell, you're there, and he's looking to you, Linvo.
Yeah. I think Linvo kind of stands there, just like not entirely sure what to do. I don't think that just telling him that we're gonna help you run away from your problems is a good idea.
That's absolutely what he wants to do. He wants to run away from this problem, even though a potential solution's been offered to him. So Lethwell, Bossy's not listening to you. And you sense, all of you sense the potential dark side within him, the fear, the anger, the hurt. And Lynn, it clicks that he wanted that blaster to shoot his father. You sense that. He still wants it. He wants it now. His eyes flick down to where he knows you keep that little holdout blaster. He may even be trying to reach out for it with the Force, even now. So Lethwell, you were the one trying to introduce his father to him, try to de-escalate this, try to find some amenable position. What do you do when you see Bossy's very, very emotional and hurt reaction?
So I think that, is it okay if everyone's here? Is everyone here?
I kind of assumed they were.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah,
I just wanted to make sure before I asked.
No, it's a
But I
good question.
think, I mean, Linvo's kind of standing there on the side, like, I wasn't so sure this was a good idea, and you couldn't decide what you were going to do when you tested him, and he definitely does have a lot of this going on, so you take
So I think
the lead.
Lethwell's going to step in between the father and son, and he's going to say, he's going to kneel down to be about eye level with the son and say, my people rejected me, and I left my home without a choice, and I miss it every day. And I think I turn to and kind of point towards Aroli. I say, Aroli was lied to for much of his life. Much of her life. And I think I turn to Linvo and I say, Linvo doesn't trust the Jedi Order that he serves at this point, that they serve at this point. And we all struggle with this. None of us are perfect. We are not what you see in the holovids where everything is black and white. And the same thing can be said of your father. He has many issues, as do you. And these must be accepted and dealt with and learned from.
But I learn at your Jedi temple.
I think it's important that you learn, and you will find that what you have left behind is as important to learn from as where you are.
Okay. I don't want to be a minor. I don't want to be on Adelon. I don't want to even be a Tuncumwell. I just want to go. I want to learn and be a Jedi.
Would you speak to your father before you go?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to turn to the others and ask them, do you have anything? Is this acceptable?
Yeah, Kaliana nods, approvingly at your little speech, and adds to Bothy, you may think that you can leave your father behind here, but if you depart here hating him, he will always be with you. The roar in your ears of your own anger will drown out whatever we have to teach you.
He'll be with you either way, but I suppose you can decide what that will mean.
Ooh, I want to see dice on that. Let's see that. So, Kaliana, I think you enter into the conflict. You're just talking right now, so it is a non-physical conflict. Yeah, I want to, and you guys can help. So there are helping rules. I'm excited to say that Rich didn't understand. It's on page 48 of the PDF. We're just gonna jump there to make sure these got them handy. Wait, is it? Write it down. Yep, there it is at the bottom of 48. If you and a friend are in a conflict together, you can help one another. On your friend's go, you can give one of your dice to your friend's raise. You have to have your character do something that would clearly and directly contribute to your friend's character's action. Be obviously something your character could do, given everything else that's going on. If anyone objects that your character is too busy or in the wrong part of the scene, you should graciously withdraw. That's the simple version of the helping rules. So I say that in that I think Kaliana's statement is what we'll use to start the conflict. But if anyone wants to throw in, you're welcome. There's a lot of hurt in this young one's heart. I am rolling he is trying to argue. So this is non-physical. It is acuity plus heart. So he doesn't have a whole lot of dice to start off with. He starts with 5 total dice. But he's going to be escalating soon.
All right. And if I'm taking the lead here after that speech, my acuity plus heart is 66, so I'll throw those onto the board.
Go for it.
Whoa!
Nice. Holy crap, you will lead off. Yeah, so we will go. Rich is going to choose the right screen this time. You get to lead off, so you're going to, what do you want to lead off with? Because you have the highest dice.
All right, and so I'm going to talk strategy first, then fiction,
Yep,
just as I get the hang of this, 'cause I haven't gotten to lead off before.
I know, it's crazy.
All right, so I can put out any number of dice that I want, and then you're like, there's no way you're going to be able to match in one, depending on what I pick. And so what will happen after, what is my goal in putting dice forward a little bit strategically? Yeah,
so you're going against an NPC. Your goal is to basically run them out of dice. If you put forward, say, if you put forth 2 6s, he's going to have to use at least 3 dice to see that, which means that he's going to get fallout from that. Right. So there will be complications. There will be drama that happens. He will be taking the blow from that. And really, in the way that this conflict works is you're trying to defeat your opponent. So you're trying to argue your point to the point where he has to concede, or if he chooses not to concede, then he escalates the conflict to a different action. And when we hit that, I'll talk it through with you.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
What is our opponent in this case? Is it Basti or is it the dark side within Basti?
Rooting for the latter.
I think it's that's a great question. And
you separate them.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think right now your opponent is Basti. Basti has not given himself to the dark side. So, yeah.
All right, then my inclination is to put forward my 5 and my 6, because you'll still need 3 to hit that, and then I'll keep more of my 6s in play. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. So 5 and a 6 is gonna. Oh man, I just wish it didn't do that. But there we go. We got a 5 and a. Oh, get down there, stupid D6!
Don't give in to the dark side there, Rich.
Ah! Okay, cool.
Move it harmoniously and with balance.
Oh man, this is the worst. All right, so he is so screwed. He's gonna use. Cool. So what? That's a lot. So he takes the blow. You tell him he's going to carry this hate around in his heart. and he immediately bursts into tears.
Oh, poor sweetie.
Sorry. Yeah, but it's a thing that like he says, I hate him. And then he runs towards you, and he's gonna escalate this to violence. Like he's gonna punch you because he just doesn't have the tools right now. It's too here. Like his dad's here and he's terrified of him. So he is now going to go from non-physical, which was acuity plus heart, to physical, which is body plus heart. So he gets to bring in his body. Unfortunately, he's a 12-year-old Bothan, so this is his fallout. So just, I may or may not roll that fallout. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So he has 2d6. Here we go. Come on, Bosty. Yeah, you got a 4 and a 5. All right, so he's got some stuff. So he takes that fallout. He's crying. And he comes forward. And he's going to punch you as hard as he can, Kaliana.
I'll lend you some dice with my strong uncontrolled force powers and just like throw them aside.
I'm not 100% sure that's what Kaliana wants, but Leah would love to see that in the fiction, so go for it.
Yeah, how does it? So then Leah can just roll 2d8?
Yeah, so yeah, if you want to do that thing, then you're doing, I guess, non-physical, right? Well, no, it is definitely physical. Yeah, let's just have you do the 2d8. Yeah. We'll just do it as a simple 2d8, and you can throw one of those dice.
Just lend.
And one more just logistical question. Since he matched and beat me, is he putting forward dice now, or am I still the one putting forward dice?
He's taken the blow. Now he can race. So we just
gotcha.
Go back and forth.
Cool.
Right,
yeah,
you roll
so I
2d8
think that Bosty runs forward, and as he just runs forward, Linvo just uses the force to just like throw him back on his butt.
Oh, so rough. All right, throw the 2d8 in. Let's see what dice you have to help. All the ones. You having trouble?
Who's rolling the d8, Leah or
Eli? Because you're throwing it in. I want you to be your fault. There we go. 2 6s. All right, that is definitely nasty. That is going to hurt the crap out of him. So which of those dice do you want to use, Kaliana?
All right, so I've got a big mess of 6s, and I think I'll put forward a 6 and a 3 just to match here without fallout.
6 and a 3 actually exceeds. Do you want to use a 6 and a 2?
Yes.
All right.
Math. And I think as he goes sprawling, Kaliana, perhaps misinterpreting what Linvo was up to, goes like, that kind of unsettled roughness is all you're capable of at the moment.
Nice.
If you want to surpass your father, you have to do what he could not.
So Kaliana, he has no idea that was Linvo. Like, as far as he knows, you just shoved him aside before he even reached you. You blocked it so well. And he looks up from the dirt because Adelon, this area, the mining has stripped away the area where you guys are. And so he knows that he's beaten if he just keeps doing what he's doing. So he reaches out for Linvo, and he reaches out and you feel it. Lethwo, Irola, you both feel that tug of someone drawing from the force, and he's trying to yank that blaster away from you, Linvo. No. He's reaching for your lightsaber instead. And so he is yanking for that lightsaber, and because he is doing so, he has already used his body plus will and his acuity plus heart. So he doesn't have any of his own dice. So he will pull upon the trait of the dark side in his heart. And now
I would I would love to toss in some dice. They might be mechanically irrelevant, but I'd love to put something forward here.
All right. What is this helping look like?
So I have a lingering connection to the dark side.
Oh, problems.
So I think as he's like pulling on the dark side in his heart, trying to steal this lightsaber, maybe he sees or hears Aroli there. Kind of, so like in internally, as he's like giving into the dark side, right at the threshold of it, Aroli is waiting, and she says, "Basti, you don't want to go there. Trust me."
Nice.
So I will toss in just one d6 for that.
Okay.
There you go.
Ooh, nice. So how will you see this? You could reverse the blow if you want.
That's totally what I'm going to do, especially since...
I can't hear you, Lee.
That's
Sorry.
totally what I'm going to do, especially since Alexi so thoughtfully got me that 5.
Perfect. All right. So you bring down the 5. Now you can reverse the blow and you can set up a new. So these dice go away. And your 5 adds to whatever else you want to add in for a new raise. He is going to be sorely defeated. He's even drawn upon the dark side. His feeble dark side.
Yeah, I think, Aroli, is that something that you think I'm aware of or not? I'm fine either way, what you just did.
Oh, I don't think I'm broadcasting this.
I didn't think so either, right? So,
And was Basti able to grab the lightsaber? Did he pull it, or was it just I'm reaching out for it?
I think he's reaching out for it, and then Aroli interrupts. So we don't actually see the Force. We just see him like he's got his hand out. He's seen this before, maybe on a holo, and he thinks he can do it. But
And we see the lightsaber hilt quiver a little bit.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think as he like strains and fails to grab it, that I'm going to leave out the 5, and then at this point I can just put forward 2 6s to just
we just wipe
beast it here.
out.
Yeah, because I think what Kaliana does is she takes out her own lightsaber, doesn't turn it on, and like places it in Basti's hand, and goes, you're very much mistaken if you think this, like closing her hand over his hand on the lightsaber, is more dangerous than this, she says, like touching him over wherever Bastians keep their hearts. And, she goes like, there's no limit to the power you already have access to in the Force. Like the limit is in your own heart and your own feelings. It's fine. She pokes them all.
Oh man, and with a 17, there's just nothing he can draw on. He knows that he is beaten. If he even had more dice, some other way to take this conflict, but he's terrified of this lightsaber. He knows that he's failed, and he crumples to the ground, weeping openly. The poor young Bothan has been shown the error of his ways and made to feel weak, even though that wasn't exactly the intent, but then offered perhaps some way to find solace, to find a path. And Bost, his father, you can see it, Lethwell. There's a moment where he wants to go over there. He wants to try to comfort his son in maybe some memory of long times ago, but he realizes it will only make things worse. At least that's what he tells himself, and he stays there as Kaliana, he lies at your feet, young Basti, and the dust mixes with his tears. And then the question is, what do you do? Will you bring this child with the darkness in his heart? Will you bring him to the temple to see if Nova Kalos can train him in the ways of the Jedi and help him?
I think Kellyanna reholsters her lightsaber and, as we've seen her do before, puts out a hand to her fallen opponent in kind of the same pose and goes, this is your first lesson. Will you pass? And she's 100% inclined to take him back. The other folks definitely may disagree, but she's like, yeah, no, that went really well.
Aroli like nods from the sidelines because, despite all of the drama here, Aroli definitely agrees at this point that the only thing that's going to make sure Basti doesn't fall to the dark side is like the attention of the Jedi Order here.
Linvo's kind of looking at like, wait, really? Looking at Aroli too, it's like you only fell into the dark side because there was someone there helping you, and now we're gonna bring someone to empower him. Is this a good plan?
And I think Lefwo steps up and says, and I think he turns to I think he turns to Basti and he says, kneels down and he says, the trials and training is not easy, and you will struggle, as we all have. But you will find it is worthwhile as you come to peace with yourself and who you are. And then I think I stand up and I walk over to Bost. And I tell Bost, I would suggest that you remember this and you strive to be the person your son wants you to be, so that if he comes back, you can show him the difference his memory has made to you. And then I step back.
Basti will head over to his father, and his father says, I will help you gather your things so that you can go with them and learn. You should speak with your mother. Basti nods, wipes at his wet, furred cheeks, and are you guys good if we just kind of cut scene there? Good.
Yeah. Are we thinking we're cutting the scene and probably,
jumping forward a little bit?
Planet? Yeah. Then the last like thing I want to add is maybe after we've left, Basti's wife, or Basti's mother, Bast's wife, Kimor, our NPC list, she like opens up this mysterious package she's received, and there's like a little note, that says, "We're going to help Basti. We've tried to help Bast, but if that doesn't take, don't be afraid to draw a line." And under the note is a blaster.
Oh, nice. There you go. That's appropriate. I'm sure that Nova completely approves of your. Yep. There you go. That's awesome. So
way to lean into that new trait you have.
I know it's early, and I did say that I do have another town that I could jump to, but I will say that this feels like a good place to stop. So I apologize. A little less game. Sorry?
That's fine. I would also, I'm okay also, instead of going to a town, having like our Padawan debrief on the ship to build like a little bit more Padawan relationship connection and have like a short scene there and then call it.
Let's do that. That's fantastic. A great suggestion.
So I want to talk about something I noticed, I think, mechanically, and I want to sound it out a little bit. Our D4 traits are there to cause complication, because whenever you push forward a D4, it can't be that high, so it's going to make it more likely that you would have fallout. But by having a D4 in your fallout, it makes it more likely that you would roll a 1 and get XP.
Yep.
So
I think that's intentional.
Right. I think so too. And I think that's something that, at least whenever I went through this, I didn't do any of that stuff because it was like, oh, I want these high dice, these 6s and these 5s. I was like, oh, but in order to grow, I need to have Fallout and put in these low dice.
Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to put that.
No, it's a really cool observation, and I'm glad you shared it with the group. It's a tricksy little system. There's a lot of like little. It's almost burning wheelie in that, like, oh, there's this little thing that you can do. It's not quite burning wheel, but like that's the thing that it kind of makes me think of. So good. So you guys get back to the Silver Dart. It's our first scene on the Silver Dart. I'm so happy and proud. Thank you, Eli. Good instincts. And we'll say that Geetslow is currently we'll say that Geetslow is in the mess hall with Basti, and Basti's eating maybe the first meal he's had in a while. And the four of you are, let's find a cool place. If you go to the Silver Dart, parentheses, your ship, you'll see that they've got deck plans. Not that you need them, but they make me happy. So just deal with it. And so, sorry, that was a little forceful that I probably should have. Sorry. Maybe you guys are, I think, at the lounge.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to be at the lounge with like the holographic strategy games going, right?
Yeah, you got Dejarik, the like space chest, the holo chest set there, and some other things going on. The four of you are there together. So, Eli, you suggested it. What is Linvo up to?
Yeah, I think Linvo kind of wants to talk to Iroli because Iroli is our resident dark side expert, and Linvo has very limited experience with the dark side because they have limited experience with the Force at all. So I think Linvo will kind of track them down and just be like, what was that? Like I felt you reaching out at one point, and I felt him reaching out at one point. What was that all about?
He was about to make a serious mistake. He shouldn't touch a lightsaber for the first time by stealing it. That would have repercussions. We can't poison his relationship with the Jedi at the well like that.
But isn't that how everything is almost a form of stealing? Like, and Linvo kind of reaches down and throws down their lightsaber, which is the Temple Guardian, like double-bladed yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
I stole this from a temple.
No. It chose you, Linvo. Don't you know that?
I don't know that.
Yeah, no, I mean I'll like put a hand on the lightsaber and like close my eyes, and at least it looks like I'm doing the Force psychometry, and I say, it definitely wants to be with you, Linvo. You don't trust yourself yet, but this lightsaber trusts you. It didn't want to wait in that temple forever. With you, it can do good in the galaxy.
Linvo is not completely convinced, but I feel like this is a good point for someone else to walk in if we want to put more people in the scene.
Yeah,
I'm up to walk in.
I also think I've justified assigning one of my relationship dice to Linvo, so I'm going to add a D6 relationship here.
I think Kaliana walks into your witty conversation and like just goes, "That went really well. Oh my gosh, it's my first time off planet, and we found a young one, and we reconciled him with his dad, and this is amazing."
Well, certainly are very sure of yourself.
Reconciled is a strong term.
Well, now that they're off planet, that went about as well as it could have, and it probably won't get worse, so it's a good base to grow from. I feel great.
I really do hope you're right, Kaliana. I appreciate your optimism.
I mean, I felt that moment where he tried to reach for the dark side, but it was like something blocked him, and it's the Force just taking care of all of us all the time.
Yeah, we can always trust the Force to help out.
Certainly, you are the best Jedi among us.
Kaliana goes, "I always have something to learn."
So I think during this conversation, Lethwell was actually meditating. And he's been very silent, which is a little bit uncharacteristic. And I think he turns to Kaliana in a moment of, if that scene's done. And I think he kind of takes Kaliana aside and says, "I'm struggling with what Linvo said about us taking Basti from his home. This wasn't a choice for me, and I know you also have a strong connection to your home, and I'm concerned about what he has left behind. Should we have left him with a communicator so that he could get back in touch, and so that he wasn't separated from his community? I'm not certain we did the right thing."
Kaliana does take a second to think this over, and says, "Well, but what we learned is that the Force always is our connection, and if we had a communicator for him, wouldn't he use it as a crutch rather than reaching out through the Force to have an appropriate level of connection with his home?"
Possibly. That is a interesting insight. And that is something to strive for. We know it's very difficult to reach such a thing, but to reach through the Force and gain that level of attunement, but it is certainly a goal.
Kaliana kind of produces Tarbo from the collar of her Jedi robes, and says, "Every morning, I set a timer for when to go visit Tarbo. I used to feed him by hand, and now I have an automatic feeder, so I don't need to worry about him. And I just meditate for a little while and remember that he is complete in the Force, without me. And I think it's good training because everything is hard to relinquish. So we should keep working to relinquish all things in and to the Force. And maybe you would find it helpful to have some part of your home that you actively don't look at and trust that it's there."
I think you're very wise to have brought a part of your home with you so that you know what parts of there are a part of you and what parts to still strive for. I wonder what part of Basti's home he has brought with him. And I'm good there. Yeah.
Nice. You wouldn't have anything else that they wanted to, any other scenes they wanted to have before we bring things to a close?
Not a scene, but a little montage vignette of sometime later, in a private place on the ship, Aroli is sitting, and from the back looks like she's meditating, and then camera pans around, and we see sitting in front of her is the broken Sith holocron that she's hung on to, that she's just staring at intensely, and maybe poking, occasionally to see if something will realign. But yeah, that's all I want to give as a little end note.
And then I also have a little vignette.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I've got one too.
So I'm not here next session.
Mhm.
So I think what we see is Lethwo, once we get back to the jungle planet, I think he goes out into the forest and meditates, trying to reach the level of enlightenment that Kalyana just mentioned, to commune back with his herdship through the Force. And that's what he'll be doing while I'm gone.
Oh, that's adorable and kind of amazing. Fantastic. And then we had one more?
Yeah, and Linvo, after all the discussions that we had, we see Linvo, and Linvo's kind of sitting on their bunk holding a data pad and just like looking at it. And then after a long pause, starts writing a message and sends a message to their mother and their sister.
Aww. And
Which, yeah, they haven't really done since they left or like were separated.
And I think Kellyanna, just as a little glimpse, pulls out that, heavily annotated almanac she has, and just like Ben Franklin kept like a little journal of how well he did on all his virtues and vices for every day. Like she is like carefully thinking and meditating and trying to like grade herself.
That's awesome. That is really cool. All right. Is everybody satisfied? Fantastic. I felt weird like ending so early, but it gave us that breathing room for those last scenes, and I'm really pleased with it. There are no post-session, like the fallout happens after conflicts, so there's no post-session stuff. We'll just move straight into our we'll do roses and thorns, just because I've got Alexi and Leah new into the system, and I want to make sure that they have the opportunity to talk about things that were thorns for them. So we'll continue with that, and then the third and fourth session we'll probably just do stars and wishes. So we'll do roses and thorns. We start with thorns, particularly anything about this hack or reskin that was confusing, or points of contention, or something that you felt like was lacking. Leah, Alexi, who wants to go first?
I'm pretty pumped. It's my first time in the system at all. I think the biggest thing that was a little bit of a mystery is just like, when do conflicts trigger? But seeing one initially was really helpful, and then once we were doing them, I just kind of trusted the Force and went turn by turn, and that went pretty well. So I didn't feel like I had an overall strong sense of strategy, but that didn't bother me too much. It felt fine to discover it as we went. I just wasn't always sure when or how to deliberately enter conflict.
That's a fair point. I think you played very well, and I appreciated us taking it nice and slow. So that was helpful for me as well, to make sure that I'm not getting lost or losing others. So I was thankful for that. Yeah, I thought you did great. And as far as into the conflict, I got a little like I felt like we hit the conflict when we necessarily needed to. There may have been one or two times where the rules could have called for us to do a conflict, but I wanted to make sure that I understood what it was about, and I think that's why I didn't pull the trigger right away a couple times today. Thank you for that, Leah. Alexi, what thorns did you have?
It's a minor one, but since you were asking about the conversion from dogs in the vineyard to Padawans in the vineyard, in dogs, the temptation is to escalate a conflict by pulling your gun often, right? And then given that it's the Wild West, other people have guns too, and they'll be firing back. But I realize a weird thing is we're the only ones with lightsabers for the most part. So I'm intrigued and curious about what happens when we get to the point where we try to escalate conflicts with lightsabers, given how infrequently we'll be facing other people with lightsabers. So I more of sort of a curiosity or a thing to consider than a full thorn, but I want to put it out there.
Yeah, well, there are going to be a lot of blasters. So there will people who be people who can escalate with other things, but that's a fair point. And I'm very excited about the next town where there will be stuff. There will be fighting.
So I saw a pathway in this session where that such a thing could happen. If Bosty had rolled better, then he could have gotten the lightsaber, and we would have had a lightsaber to lightsaber battle. And I was itching for that to happen, so we'll see.
Yeah, I was like, here we go. The dice are there. 2d8. He's got a good chance. No, he sucked. So, Steven, let's continue with you. What thorns did you have?
Again, it's a minor one. I think that the game system in general shows its age, in that things moved very slowly. Whereas a more modern gaming system, like a Powered by the Apocalypse, conflicts are very short and very tight, and there's very little downtime. So that's kind of I just see that with older games. Yeah. And I'm not sure that's really a thorn, but it's as close as I could come. Yeah.
No, it's a fair point. To me, this one is like, because the system has a lot to it, I don't want to enter a conflict lightly. Like, I want to make sure. Whereas, like, oh yeah, let's totally see you act under fire. That seems good. Let's roll those dice. But here it's like, I don't know if I would initially go through the whole of that if it's a thing that could just happen.
Actually, I don't think it was just the conflict. I think it was the whole thing. There seems to be, with older games and with this one specifically, that something that spoke to me was there's more breathing room through the whole thing.
Yeah, there is.
And with other systems that I played, at least more modern systems that I played, there's much more of a beat to keep things moving and keep everything pushing forward. And there's a lot more breathing room in this. So, yeah.
It's really insightful, Stephen. Thank you. Eli, what thorns did you have?
Yeah, I mean, mine's similar-ish to Stephen's, and I think I mentioned this last time, that it's one of those games that, like, the conflict is very fleshed out and interesting and has, like, strategy. And as we were talking, Alexi brought up, like, you use the bad traits to get the XP and how that creates interesting things within the conflict, but that outside the conflict, it's basically just free play. And as we explained that, and I think one of the reasons why the conflict takes so long is also doing it online, that if we were at a table and we could just roll the dice and start pushing them forward, conflict would move faster because of the physical proximity, but doing it through the online dice room takes longer. But because the conflict takes so long, we have a little less inclined to get into smaller conflicts because it'll be a big thing. And that just means that by default, much of the play is free play outside of the conflict. And so I don't know what to do about that. It could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but it's just interesting to think about, as it is mostly unstructured. And then, I mean, in a lot of ways, it puts a lot of the load on you, Rich, and you've been doing a great job, but in the hands of the GM to kind of sculpt pre-play without mechanics to sculpt the free play.
It's a fair point. And thank you for telling me I've been doing a good job. What I've done is listen to you when you told me you wanted a scene, and I'm like, yep, you can have it. That was my genius, is listening to good players.
To push on that a little bit, Eli, are you suggesting that maybe there should be different phases in Padawans in the Vineyard where, there's a conflict kind of phase and then a downtime phase?
I mean, it could be. I don't know. I would say that a lot of us got a lot out of our downtime phase that came after our big conflict and resolving the mission. And part of this might also be that just last night I played Vincent McGay Baker's newest game, Under Hollow Hills, which does have phases. And it is in some ways very similar that you arrive at a town and you do things in the town, and then you have your performance, and then after your performance, you kind of go somewhere else, and then going somewhere else, you can have some little scenes. And in some ways, that's almost similar to what's going on here. But in that one, when you're exploring the town and figuring out what the problems are, there are more easier to do things before it blows into a big conflict. And the performance is a big thing that requires planning and has the planned out, articulated choices. But there are smaller moves that happen beforehand that help control it.
That's really interesting. Huh. Yeah, a different system would be like I would not want to layer this system into a downtime, but like if there was a different subsystem that was going on for that, that could be pretty cool. Yeah. Well, thank you. We will stick with you for roses. This is positive feedback to fellow players who are talking about particular moments of the game that you enjoyed. So, Eli, you went last for thorns. You get to go first for roses.
Sure. I had a great time with everyone. I really enjoyed delving into like our very hardcore exploration of like what does it mean to be a Jedi and morality in Star Wars, because I feel like that is not happening and that much, certainly in the main trilogy right now. And I think that it was really interesting to explore, and seeing everyone being like, no, this is it. This is what makes sense to my character. Playing it through was awesome.
Cool. Thank you. Steven, what roses did you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna contradict what I said earlier. I really enjoyed the downtime and the slow pace because it was so much fun to watch and see the initiation from Kaliana and Eroli. That was really, that was it was very entertaining for me, and to watch everyone interact. And whenever we got back to the planet, the interactions that we had and the space that we had in order to let our characters breathe a little bit and let the scene breathe a little bit felt very good, and I really liked that.
Good. Thank you, Stephen. Alexi, what did you have for roses?
Yeah, roses all around for a really great group of Padawans, and especially echoing Eli's rose about debating the Jedi code and the Force in character. That was great. Big rose in particular to Stephen for Lethwo bringing Bost into this trial, because that escalated the stakes in a way that really, I think, helped for our story. Like it gave some teeth to what we were doing there and made the conflict make sense. So I think really great narrative instincts in that moment, and Rich, rose to you for rolling with that and doing a good job interpreting the weird type of conflicts we're engendering with our strange Jedi trials and whatnot.
Thank you. Yeah, strange Jedi trials, TM. Thank you, Alexi. Leah, what about you? What roses did you have?
Yeah, definitely a second rose about bringing in his actual dad, which, I guess mechanically should involve huge dice as an escalation. But it was just really satisfying. It's my first Star Wars Saturday game, and as someone who really hated Rise of Skywalker and is really pumped to be watching The Mandalorian right now, this felt like, in some ways, the slower pace and the smaller stakes was what I want out of a Star Wars story right now. Whereas Padawans, we're not going to screw up recruiting this kid so badly that we blow up a planet, probably in the near term. But that doesn't mean that the stakes of our conflict don't matter. And that just really felt like it came through very clearly, and also without any of our Padawans clearly having a correct disposition to the Force or to this kid. So I just found it really satisfying as a Star Wars story about people trying to understand and follow the Force and struggling with it. And the range of how we could escalate fights really felt like it played in well to that.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. The way that you escalate to get more dice is fascinating to me, and it's one of the things that I find most interesting in Dogs in the Vineyard. So I'm glad that it carried through and that you guys got some glimpses of that, even though a lot of it was the NPC who desperately needs more dice, so he'll escalate to try to win. Yeah, I
had to comment on that. Actually, I really like the way that you actually drew that in, where he pulled on the dark side, because that was very good. It was a very good way to escalate and show us, this is what. It's a good way where the mechanics backed up the fiction. Yeah.
Yes. I have to say, one of my little highlights is the moment of people when I say, and he's drawing upon the dark side for 2d8, and people are like, oh, there was that bit of thrill, and that was great. I quite liked that moment, and yes, it was the fiction and the mechanics bleeding together in very interesting ways. So yeah. Thank you all so much for giving this a shot. Leah, Alexi, thank you for coming in and trying out Star Wars Saturdays. Well, I've seen you in Star Wars before, Alexi. Leah, most welcome. You're always welcome back. And Eli, Steven, you guys are great. This was awesome. I can't wait till next week. Steven, you're going to a con? Aren't you running games at a con, if I remember correctly? I hope you have some fantastic games, and we will see you back on session 4. And that's right. You said first official Saturday, Star Wars Saturday, but we Gauntlet Con. It's like we like fold it in, like I annex it a little bit. I even use that to launch our post Return of the Jedi timeline. So it's kind of a big deal. You're there. You're all officially Star Wars Saturday nerds with me. Thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and bring this to a close. I'll stop the live stream now.